We live in a time where Etsy and print-on-demand advice is coming at you at lightning speed from every corner of the internet. And if you're a newer seller, it probably feels a little overwhelming to distinguish between real advice, clickbait, outdated advice, and just straight up wrong advice. So for today's video, I want to highlight some of the worst advice that I've seen floating around out there that continues to send Etsy sellers on a wild goose chase in the hopes for success, why this advice doesn't work, and of course, what you should do instead. In case we haven't met yet, my name is Mandy, and as the owner of multiple six-figure businesses, including Etsy print-on-demand shops, my goal is to provide you with strategies to simplify the journey and scale your business faster so that you can stop the overwhelm, start making progress, and thrive with your print-on-demand business. Now, to be clear, the advice that I'm highlighting is aimed at absolutely no particular source in particular, so any correlation is purely coincidental. Because these things, quite honestly, I've heard circulated again and again. I get dozens of messages and comments and private messages from Etsy sellers regularly asking about this thing or that thing that they heard and whether or not they should do it too, which is totally understandable just given the sheer amount of information that's out there. So hopefully this video will clear up a few things that you've perhaps heard in your travels as well, and make sure you stick around to the end because I've saved the best, or should I say worst, for last. Terrible advice number 1. Make a separate store for every separate niche you want to sell in. I see this advice time and time again. Sellers are told that if you have multiple ideas for different niches, then you need to have them in different shops. And while there is absolutely truth that niche-focused shops do well, the problem is that sellers often aren't given enough context with this advice to clarify that there is some strategy in how you go about doing this and when it's appropriate to operate multiple shops. This unfortunately then manifests with new sellers starting up multiple Etsy shops and trying to grow them at the same time. Growing a single successful Etsy shop takes time and a lot of work. While identifying a niche is important, attempting to start and run multiple new Etsy shops at the same time is the fastest way to dilute your efforts, because now you're spreading yourself across multiple shops, having to keep track of multiple logins. You have to log in and out. You have to create separate products if you're running it in Printify. You have to have them as separate shops. It's a lot. If you want to feel burnout and overwhelm real fast, that would do it. The good news is that you've got a few options. Number 1, you can stick to one niche and focus on building out a variety of products and sub-niches to target specific customers and demographics in a single shop. Grow that shop, establish some success with it, and then decide if you want to start up a whole other shop. Another option is the direction that I typically recommend for a lot of new sellers, particularly if you've got a few different ideas or don't quite have a set direction yet. Start a more general shop and identify the niches that you have researched and validated as being a potential for which you can start creating products. I recommend incorporating some common aesthetics or design elements so that your shop does have some cohesion to it. Create sections in your shop based on your research niches and sub-niches. Pick 1 to 2 product types to focus on, and then start batching some designs for each niche. Strive to get around 15 to 20 solid designs within each niche, or in this case section, so that you can then infiltrate those and get some data on which ones are ultimately going to perform better for you. Over time, you will be able to see which niches and design styles rise to the top, and that will give you clues as to what you should continue focusing on and making more of. Your shop may evolve to have a variety of niches that do well, or you may land on just a couple that take off and you can consolidate your efforts there. The point is, walk before you run, focus your efforts, and put your energy into building one successful Etsy shop before you start trying to expand and take on more. Terrible advice number 2. Repeat keywords in your title so that you can rank higher in search results with those keywords. If someone is telling you to structure your title like this, run. Once upon a time, this wasn't terrible advice for Etsy. In fact, when I first started on Etsy several years ago, this was actually pretty standard. But the Etsy algorithm, love it or hate it, has come a long way since then, and Etsy has learned more about search patterns and customer behaviors since then too. It's gotten smarter, and as a result, it's become more aligned with how a typical search engine like Google works. So what does work instead? Leverage long-tail keyword phrases, which means 3 or more keywords strung together that are going to reflect how your ideal customer would search for your item. This makes your title and your keywords more relevant in the search results. And you'll want to make sure you put your most relevant keywords within those first 40 to 50 characters of your title, because that's the space that customers will see in the search results before the rest gets chopped off. The more closely your listing matches a customer search query, the better your chances of ranking higher because your listing becomes more relevant. According to Ritesh, Etsy's global head of SEO, who was focused on optimization related to Google and Bing searches, and made remarks on this exact subject at the Etsy Up 2023 event, excessively repeating keywords looks spammy. Google doesn't like it, Bing doesn't like it, and Etsy doesn't like it either. So titles in particular need to be descriptive, concise, relevant, and easy to read and understand for the customer. I recommend a combination of keywords related to what the product is, who it's potentially for, and occasions or holidays for which it could be gifted. That will give you a variety of keywords as a starting place to research to make sure people are actually searching for it, and then use those in different ways within your title, tags, description, and sections. Here's an example. If you're selling a Christmas pickleball sweatshirt that can be personalized, your title should not look like pickleball sweatshirt, pickleball Christmas shirt, Christmas pickleball, pickleball gift, custom pickleball shirt. You get the idea. That's a lot of pickleball. And that's what we mean by keyword stuffing. Etsy's algorithm is smart enough to recognize different keyword combinations, so repeating the same words a ton of times in your title is not going to do you any favors. Instead, work on building these long-tail keyword phrases and lead your title with something like personalized Christmas pickleball sweatshirt, comma, custom shirt for pickleball player, comma, sports lover gift, and so on. Etsy will still show your listing to someone who types in pickleball shirt and pickleball gift, but now you've got a variety of other keywords and have target additional customer search queries. Again, the closer you can match your keywords and phrases with what a customer is searching for, the better. And the higher you're going to rank in that particular customer's search results. And if you pay attention to nothing else in this video, I need you to pay attention to this moment right here. If you have a listing that is performing well and getting sales, do not, I repeat, do not make changes to your titles or tags, even if you think you did them all wrong, because clearly you did something right. You can change anything else you want to in that listing, just don't change those. If you want more insight on SEO and the Etsy algorithm and optimizing your listing, I've included a few of my other videos that will take a deeper dive with you. Terrible advice number 3. Renew your listings daily. Much like keyword repetition in your title, this one also falls under that outdated advice category. When I first started selling on Etsy years ago, this strategy actually worked pretty well, but nowadays, it's not really worth it. According to Etsy's Seller Handbook, renewed listings get a slight boost, but if you're doing this a lot and you're doing it just for the sake of renewing, you're really just wasting a lot of time and money. Some listings just take time to find their place in the marketplace. I've had listings that I've left up from last Halloween suddenly start randomly selling this year because I've left them up and let them renew. And some listings may just never sell. Statistically, 80% of your revenue is going to come from typically 20% or less of your products. Not all listings will be winners, but a slow start doesn't mean failure. If you make significant changes to a design or SEO in your listing, then I do recommend renewing so that you can see if there's going to be an impact. Otherwise, I do typically set my listings to automatically renew, largely so that when a listing does sell, it will immediately relist and remain available for sale. The last thing you want is for a good seller to not be available. Then for ongoing listings that are expiring, I will periodically review them when they renew or right before they renew by sorting my listings by expiration soonest first in my listing view. That will give me a chance to see listings that are going to renew soon, and I can decide if I want to update anything, swap out a listing photo, change some keywords, or deactivate altogether. When do I actually deactivate a listing? Well, like a lot of things, that depends. Since, as I said, sometimes it can take a while for a listing to get some steam in the Etsy algorithm. Most of the time, I find myself deactivating listings from some of my earlier days of designing where they just really weren't very good designs, or they were very generic and likely to not ever sell. Terrible advice number 4. Change all of your attributes each season to try and get your listings to show up as gifts for those seasons or occasions. As we are in the thick of Q4, this is often a strategy that I hear getting tossed around, and the logic behind it is that attributes act like another keyword or tag in your shop. While attributes are important and should definitely be selected when they make sense to, changing out the holiday or occasion attributes are not going to give your shop any sort of special boost when you're doing it just for the sake of trying to appeal as potential gifts. When there is zero connection to a holiday or occasion, especially in your design or product, then this is simply busy work and is going to distract you from the real focus, which is customer demand, your niches, and your designs. It's certainly one thing to experiment with the different attributes if they can reasonably fit into more than one potential category. A good example of this would be products or specific designs that may work for both engagements and weddings, but ultimately, they still should be accurate and relevant to the item itself, and not necessarily based on items where it could be gifted. Another example of this shirt should not have Christmas selected in the holiday attribute. However, this shirt should have Christmas selected in the holiday attribute because it's clearly a Christmas-related design. If an attribute isn't relevant, simply skip it. Terrible advice number 5. Create volume in your shop by duplicating listings several times so that you can swap out the main photo and create a separate listing to show every color or variation that you offer. Or, similarly, take one design and put it on 10 different products. Now, this advice often gets confused with the concept of A/B testing. But there's a big difference between duplicating a listing with the design on, let's say, a dark sweatshirt in the main listing photo to show a version in a separate listing with a lighter sweatshirt, versus simply duplicating the same design a dozen times to show it on every single color that you offer. This will just cause confusion with your customers who may find your listing in the search results, click into your shop from there, and then just see dozens of the same listings. Similarly, a lot of new sellers are told to take a design and list it on a bunch of different products. The problem with this, though, when you're scaling, is that you have no proof of concept yet with that particular design, but you're spending a lot of time listing all of these different products, figuring out shipping for all of these different products, creating separate mockups for all of these different products. This often leads to a lot of overwhelm and frustration for new sellers because you're basing so many different products and decisions off of a single design that may not sell. As mentioned earlier in the video, my recommendation is to pick 1 to 2 product types, focus your efforts on your research around niches and designs that will speak to those target customers in those niches, and then scale those with a variety of different designs so that you can then get data on what is actually going to work. Definitely experiment with A/B testing and swapping out that first listing photo and a couple keywords in the title. And definitely experiment with using different design colors. For example, a light design on a dark sweatshirt in one listing and a dark version of the same design on a light sweatshirt in another listing. That's different. But when it comes to the same exact design, keep it to no more than 1 or 2 duplicates when you're experimenting. Then as you have more data on a design, meaning you're getting sales or even lots of favorites on it, then you can start experimenting with adding it to additional products that are going to be complementary for your niches and customers, because now you're making data-driven decisions. Terrible advice number 6 is somewhat similar and basically tells sellers to simply make hundreds or thousands of listings, and that will lead to success. The problem with this advice is that it often leaves out a key element. You need to have a strategy so that there's quality, not just quantity. Believe me, I will be the first to tell you that volume does work. Yes, I intentionally experimented with scaling my primary shop to 700 listings in about 5 months and reached 6-figure revenue in just 10 months. But I also experimented with a store before that with several hundred listings that simply focused on volume and getting designs on lots of products. That particular shop went nowhere real fast. There's a big difference in indiscriminately making hundreds of random generic listings just for the sake of listing and creating a high volume of listings with a strategy. The reality is that you don't even need hundreds of listings, but I am a firm believer that volume does help. The top shops that I follow in eRank have anywhere between 300 to 2,000 listings, and even the leadership, again from the Etsy Up event earlier this year, agreed that having a full shop means there's more opportunity to be found. I encourage you to set a listing goal instead of a sales goal so that you have something specific and actionable to work towards that's in your control. But just know that there is no magic number. As a new seller in particular, it's incredibly easy to get sucked in by all of the shiny objects out there, especially with print on demand, because there are so many options out there. There's literally hundreds of products that you could put your designs on, and lots of these products get highlighted in product videos, which is great. The key difference between my own experiments in the print-on-demand shops that I've started was taking a much deeper dive into the research and strategy behind it, learning about different niches, and exploring different design styles based on demand. Volume works because of probability and statistics, but you have to take the time to put the strategy in place along with it. Identify your target customers, identify products that are going to resonate with them, build your knowledge and expertise in applying this research to your designs, and then continue to repeat that process. A lot of this is experimental and will evolve as you grow, but this is a basic business concept and it works. And finally, the Etsy advice that I love to hate. If one Etsy shop isn't working within the first couple months, simply open a new one and start over. Not only does this sound like an exhausting hamster wheel of starting and stopping progress, but there is zero truth behind it based on how the Etsy algorithm actually works. And quite frankly, I get wildly annoyed when new sellers are given advice like this, as though it's going to solve everything and suddenly a new shop will make all the sales. If your store is new and hasn't seen sales yet, it's not dead, and you are not a failure. There's also no proven long-term benefit to a new shop. Etsy's seller handbook specifically states that new shops and listings start with a neutral quality score, which is a key element in the Etsy ranking process within the algorithm. What does get a temporary boost is new listings, and this boost can last anywhere from a few hours to a few days. And that is where I encourage new sellers to focus their efforts. Spend time, again, on researching customer demand, building expertise in SEO, understanding how to make good designs, and applying that to new listings as you build so that over time your shop becomes more and more optimized. On average, it takes 60 to 90 days for Etsy's algorithm to really learn your shop and start to get things in front of the right audience. And that's assuming that you are feeding it new information in the form of new listings and filling out all of your shop sections. From there, a variety of factors account for your shop's overall ranking, including recency, relevancy, customer and market experience score, and more. If you are driving traffic from elsewhere, like social media or ads, then yes, you can sometimes climb faster if that is helping you generate sales. But in general, the idea that you can somehow predict the future success of your shop within that short amount of time frame and then make a decision to start a new shop from that is absurd. Not to mention the fact that with new shops nowadays, there's a likelihood that you'll experience a payment reserve and potentially go through the whole new shop suspension process on top of it. I don't know about you, but who wants to go through with that every couple months? The bottom line in all of this is that every Etsy seller has their own journey, and there are so many factors that go into how quickly a store starts to get sales. If anyone is promising you overnight success or that this one shiny product is going to suddenly bring you thousands of sales if you simply put a plain design on it and list it, or that all of this is passive and doesn't take work, run far away. Your shop will evolve. You may struggle in the beginning to find your rhythm, and that's okay. Your early designs and SEO may not be that great, and that's okay too. It takes time to build this expertise and skill sets in these areas. Don't compare your skills or your timeline to anybody else's. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The goal is not to be the Olympic athlete of Etsy on day one. If it were as easy as all the clickbait advice out there said it was, everyone would be doing it and everyone would be seeing the same level of success. In fact, most new sellers give up long before they've ever even given their shop a chance to be successful. And that is in large part due to the advice that's out there proclaiming that this industry is easy money or promising immediate success. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Build yourself a solid foundation of knowledge, keep learning, keep practicing, and make sure you're continuously improving along the way. As you know better, do better. And above all, keep going. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to learn more about my strategies for thriving in your print-on-demand business, make sure you've got the notifications turned on for my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my content. And in the meantime, be sure to check out the dedicated playlist with my full print-on-demand masterclass course right here on YouTube, as well as my time blocking series for an even deeper dive on the critical steps for success. Thanks for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you on the next one. If you're looking for more ways to continue the journey and stay connected, I'm so excited to invite you to my brand new membership, the Simply Thrive Club. Unlike other programs, this is not a course. In fact, it's not even a program in the traditional sense. And that's because all of the steps that you need to build your print-on-demand business can be obtained for free on my channel through a variety of videos and playlists that I've put together specifically to help you on your journey. My in-depth course is not behind a paywall. So instead, this new membership is all about community with ongoing challenges to drive growth and a support system for accountability to keep going. It's goal setting to maximize your pockets of time and stay organized so that you can thrive even amidst a busy schedule. And it's action taking with expert resources and tools in order to master skills necessary for scaling faster and more efficiently. That is where the magic happens in your print-on-demand journey. Your willingness to clarify your goals, commit with consistency, and adapt your mindset and your approach so that you understand what will work and what won't. This totally new platform is a community that is off of social media and away from spam and distractions, including a community app. I've created over 80 plus professional mockups with more on the way. There are monthly accountability challenges because, did I mention I'm all about consistency? I've included the ability to request quarterly comprehensive shop audits and live group calls each month where we can talk about all things print on demand, time blocking, setting realistic goals, finding process efficiencies, and so much more. Be sure to check it out, and in the meantime, keep going, keep learning, and keep growing on your print on demand journey.